Yes, what's up, polyglots? Good afternoon. Welcome back to our YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to talk about the techniques and the method that are used by different polyglots to learn a language. And when I say polyglots, I'm talking about people who teach themselves how to learn a language. I'm not going to talk about the traditional ways of learning a language. I'm not talking about going to a language school where you are taught different things and you have to learn a language in 3 years. No, I'm talking about people who have taught themselves how to speak several languages. And the first person that I'm going to talk about here is called Steve Kaufman. Steve Kaufman is a well-known polyglot who speaks over 20 languages. And Steve's technique is based on input. So it's called input first. So what Steve does is he looks for audiobooks that he enjoys with the stories that he likes, and then he listens and listens and listens. And he also looks for books that he likes. Since he worked as a diplomat, he likes politics and business. So he looks for those books and he starts reading. After some time, let's say 4 or 5 months, he starts communicating with the people. So this is his technique, and I think it is very effective since he has managed to learn over 20 languages. The next person that I'm going to talk about here is called Lucas Raphael. Lucas Raphael speaks over 15 languages, and his method is based on 500 most frequent words in a language. So what he does is, if he wants to learn Spanish, he goes on the internet, looks for the 500 most frequent words in that language, and then he uses the words in different sentences so that he can learn the language, the words naturally, and he can retain the vocab. So that's his method, and since he has managed to learn over 15 languages, I'm really convinced that this method is also effective. And the next person that I'm going to talk about is Uncle Davy, or David James, but he's well known as Uncle Davy. Uncle Dave speaks over 10 languages, and his method is called the gold list. The gold list is basically based on writing words. Let's say today I'm reading and then I look for 15 words in that language that I'm reading in, and then I write them. It's a list that I write, and then after 2 weeks I go back to the list, then I check, and then after every 2 weeks I do the same thing. Sometimes you just go and then you try to rewrite the words before you look at them, and then later on you check the words and you see how many you've memorized. So this he says it works, and because every time that you rewrite, you retain over 30% of the vocab. So this is his method, which is called the gold list. And the next person that I'm going to talk about is Ben Lewis. Ben Lewis' method is called Speak from Day One, and Ben Lewis speaks over 10 languages. So for him, what he does is he goes out there. Let's say he goes to a country where the language is spoken. If he wants to learn Arabic, he goes to Dubai, or he goes to Egypt, and then he starts communicating with the people from day one. Okay, so every vocab, every grammatical rule that he's getting, then he tries to stock it in the mind, and then he uses the language. So he's basically communicating with the people with a lot of mistakes. He makes millions of mistakes, but after some time, he manages to communicate with a minimum mistakes. So that is his method, and I think it is very effective since he has managed to learn over 10 languages. Okay, and then the next person that I'm going to talk about here is called Lucas Lampariello. Lucas, we've already talked about Lucas Raphael, who speaks 15 languages. Here we've got Lucas Rampariello, who speaks 12 languages, and his method is based on translation. So what he does is, if he wants to learn French and he already speaks English, he looks for French texts, and he tries to translate those texts back to English language because that's his first language. So he translates from the target language to his first language, and he looks for a bunch of those texts, and he keeps on repeating the same thing. And for him, he says it works very well because he has managed to learn over 12 languages using this technique. Okay, so that's his method. And then after that, of course, he starts communicating with the people. He starts writing and doing different things. And he also said that when he started to learn a foreign language, what he did is he contacted a person on the internet, on Skype, and the person was writing, And then what the person writes, he translates that, and then he understands the meaning. Then he sends that to another person. That person responds, and then he translates and sends to another person. So he managed to have conversation with a lot of people in one day, and that's how he managed to learn that language. So this is really effective, and I think it works. And the last person that I'm going to talk about here is called Gabriel Weiner. Gabriel Weiner speaks a bunch of languages. He speaks over 14 languages, and his method, his technique is called space repetition system. Space repetition system is based on flashcards. So what he does is he writes the vocab that he would like to learn in a target language. He doesn't write any translation on those flashcards. So what he does, he goes back to the flashcards almost every day, and he goes to them, and then he just checks and starts reading those flashcards. He doesn't translate the words. So this repetition actually, see, because when you learn vocab, it goes in the short memory. And then short-term memory, then after repetition and repetition, it goes in the long-term memory. So that's what he does, and he keeps on repeating the same thing until he memorizes the words. After that, he goes and he starts to communicate with people in that language. So these are some of the techniques, guys, that I've given you, and for you, you can choose which one really works for you, because the most important thing is to learn how to learn a language. So you have to teach yourself how to learn a language. So once you find a method that is effective for you, everything is going to be okay. You will not spend money going to those traditional schools, language schools, where you're going to learn things that are not interesting for you, because teachers, when they teach you what they like. They do not teach you what you like, because otherwise you're not going to be able to manage a class, because you've got a lot of students, and if you want to do what they like, then you're not going to manage the class. So these are some of the methods, and I hope you have enjoyed the video. In my next video, I'm going to talk about the method that I am using to learn Spanish language. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Please press the like button, also share the video, and drop a comment. Thank you so much for watching the video. And by the way, I am the richest guy in the world, a millionaire. I'd forgotten to tell you that in the beginning of the video, but this is the money that I got, and I really love this one. Someone gave it to me last time when I met an Algerian guy, and I really enjoyed talking to him. Anyway, salam alaikum, peace.